Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really profound Buddhist teaching that honestly has the power to completely flip how we experience pain. To really get this, let's step out of wherever you are right now for just a second. Picture taking a peaceful walk through a quiet forest, right after a gentle rain has finished falling. You know that incredibly fresh smell in the air? Well, that's the exact setting for a story that, while super ancient, hits the nail on the head for the modern struggles we all deal with today. It's known as the parable of the two arrows.
Moving right into our first section, a question in the forest, the origin of the parable.
So, picture the scene. The Buddha and his disciples are just taking a rest beside this small, winding stream. You've got birds singing happily up in the damp trees, and the whole vibe is completely tranquil. But even in this perfect peace, the human mind is still, searching for answers. It was right there that one of the disciples spoke up and asked a truly heavy question. He said, "Master, why do some people suffer so much more than others, even when they face the same difficulties?" It's a fantastic observation, isn't it? Like, why on earth can two people go through the exact same hardship, the exact same amount of adversity, but end up with totally different levels of internal suffering? Let's see exactly how the Buddha tackled this.
Which brings us to the first arrow, unavoidable pain.
Instead of just giving a dry philosophical lecture, the Buddha went with a super powerful visual metaphor. He reached down, picked up two small arrows that just happened to have fallen from a hunter's bag nearby, and held up the first one. He told his disciples to imagine a traveler walking through the forest. Suddenly, boom, out of nowhere, an arrow strikes this traveler right in the shoulder. The reaction is, of course, immediate and entirely visceral. The traveler feels pain, he cries out, he bleeds. The Buddha looked at his nodding disciples and emphasized that this pain is undeniably real. This first arrow, it represents the genuine, unavoidable pain that life just inevitably throws at all of us. You can't dodge it, and you definitely can't pretend it doesn't hurt.
And this first arrow takes very real, very specific forms in our everyday lives. We're talking about illness, failure, loss, disappointment. The Buddha was crystal clear about this. We simply cannot always prevent this first arrow. These are the sudden injuries in life that hit us without warning, no matter how carefully we try to walk through that forest. It's just the baseline reality of the human experience.
Now, let's look at the next part, the second arrow, self-inflicted suffering.
Here is where the story takes a really surprising twist. The Buddha holds up that second arrow he found on the ground and asks them to imagine something frankly shocking. Imagine that the bleeding traveler deliberately reaches down, picks up another arrow, and shoots himself again. I mean, why would anyone do such a thing? The disciples looked at each other, totally confused by this violent, absurd metaphor. It literally makes absolutely zero sense to willingly inflict a second wound on top of a fresh injury. But the Buddha just gave them a gentle smile. He pointed out that, sure, while it sounds totally crazy in a physical sense, this is exactly what so many of us do to ourselves every single day in our minds.
Think about it for a second. We shoot ourselves with this second arrow by replaying painful memories on an endless loop, or by beating ourselves up and blaming ourselves way too much. We do it when we worry obsessively about the future, when we boil over with anger at our circumstances, or when we just flat out refuse to forgive. A lot of the time, it's just our mind's clunky attempt to control the uncontrollable. But by falling into these mental habits, we are actively, literally creating our own suffering. The first arrow was the event itself. The second arrow is entirely our reaction to it.
So there's a really crucial contrast going on here. On the one hand, the first arrow wounds the body, or our life circumstances, and brings unavoidable pain. But the second arrow, that one wounds the mind, and it represents optional suffering. It's the story we tell ourselves about the pain we just went through, and it is 100% self-inflicted.
And then, the Buddha delivered what is probably his most impactful statement into that silent forest. That second arrow is optional. The source actually describes how, right in that moment, the only sound was a gentle breeze carrying fallen leaves across the stream. Just let the sheer weight of that statement sink in. The extra suffering you feel layered on top of your pain, it's optional.
Which leads us to our next section, the Vipassanā solution, observing without adding.
So naturally, breaking the silence, one of the disciples asked the exact same thing we're all probably thinking right now. Master, how do we avoid the second arrow? The answer lies in Vipassanā. Basically, it means observing every sensation, not clinging to it, not fighting it, but simply seeing it clearly for what it is. The Buddha explained it kind of like this. When sadness comes knocking, just know that sadness is here. When anger flares up, know that anger is here. Notice it, acknowledge the pain of that first arrow. But, and this is the absolute key, do not build a home for those feelings. Don't invite them to move in and stay by firing that second arrow of rumination. Finally, we reach dropping the second arrow, healing and letting go. Wrapping up his lesson, the Buddha states that a truly wise person removes the first arrow with compassion and then never even reaches for the second one. Just imagine the disciples quietly sitting there, reflecting on this teaching, surrounded by nothing but the sound of that flowing water. The instruction is so clear. A wise person treats the unavoidable wounds of life with deep, deep compassion, but fiercely guards their mind against compounding that pain. And that brings us to the core takeaway of this whole explainer. Pain is often unavoidable, but suffering is often a choice. There's this profound, life-altering difference between the pain that simply happens to us just as a consequence of being alive and the suffering we actively choose to generate through our own internal narratives.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final, really provocative thought to chew on. Are you still carrying a second arrow right now? Honestly ask yourself, is your current suffering really coming from today's actual problem, or is it actually coming from yesterday's thoughts? Take a mindful look at your own life. Because, perhaps your true healing begins the very moment you stop hurting yourself with the stories your own mind keeps repeating. Thank you so much for learning with us today.